Entertainment, Magic Lantern Show. Once for science, now for a paying audience. The women of the Surrey County Lunatic Asylum have been selected for their visual qualities. Paupers once, now they are framed in bronze and hung in the National Gallery. But they are as delicate in image as they were in life. Even in death, they must be protected. They are irreplaceable, sealed away behind glass, from the interplay of sunlight and incandescence, the crowd's moist breath and shifting weather. Halcyon days or intemperate extremes threaten them equally. A humidity detector beneath each sepia-toned portrait registers air quality. A red-inked pen held by an invisible hand writes slowly on scrolled paper in a language that is reverted to the heartbeat where life begins. In this exhibit, a retrospective on photographic perspective, science meets art. All the fascinations of science are here: to slow down time, to speed up time, to capture the smallest detail, to cast perception beyond distances that can only be imagined. But context is everything. The women are placed close to a photograph of a speeding bullet passing through a banana, explosion of white matter light as feathers, always greeted by laughter. They are across the room from swirling distant galaxies imaged through the recording of gamma waves, the invisible made visible for the human eye. The women seem as far away as that, frozen in their suffering behind glass. You've paid good money to be here, you, free to walk away and contemplate the distance between you and Antares, the Orphici dark cloud. Cobalt blues, fiery oranges, glorious fuchsia, reminding you of something that is finally out of your mind. But in your perfect and faithful record, this is not possible. You will return to stand before the women. You will see your own faint reflection superimposed on one face and then another. Try as you might, you will never step completely out of the frame. As you move through the exhibit, the pen recording your heat, your breath, it will be your eyes that follow them. A trial in mesmerism. In the neurology unit, I'm amazed at what the complicity of illness gives this stranger license to do to me. He has braided electrodes into my hair, hours I've spent smelling the sweet tang of his underarms. In this dim room, his white coat could be a bathrobe, threatening to swing open and reveal the dark patch of his dress pants. The metal contacts he fixes to my skin are coldly bright, a constellation lighting up the dome of my skull. He's held my hand in his precise hands. Before we are done, he will know my nerves, my every response, how much it takes to make me tremble. He has been gentlemanly in his requests, turned away as I removed my stockings, touched my sleeve and waited as I lifted it further. He observed the blue pulse in my wrist speed up. "We'll start here," he says, and touches an ankle with the probe. At first I feel nothing, and he's turned away to watch my brain's lightning strike harmlessly over the ocean. Then he's rushing behind me out of the dark, and my legs shake as though he's pumping me full of pure adrenaline. But it's only fight or flight, a chemical reaction, nothing more. "Shock treatment," he says, then laughs. He can guess what's brought me here, although all I've mentioned are the unaccountable electric current down the left leg making my gait awkward and uncoordinated, a tingling slipped like a radioactive glove onto the left hand, and the constant migraine behind my left eye. He talks about happiness, how you must choose to be happy, and I wonder if he says this to the sufferers of MS and brain tumors. Does he know already that he'll find nothing here, nothing most people would call real? He tells me we're finished, and my heart pounds hard. He observes my terror and laughs, holding the bundle of wires in one hand, the solid weight of Rapunzel's braid, still warm from resting on my back, and pulls the male from the female plugs, one by one, as easily as that. Happiness. What could he know of my happiness, and what was remembered as my brain refused to yield its mysteries to him? Sunrise, walking the hills with the man who will be my husband. Heavy-headed dandelions thud wet against our legs, leaving cool snail trails like kisses on bare skin. We cast aside our clothes, hurl them into the blazing yellow morning. My voice calls across 25 years. Remember this on the day you die. Unable to imagine how anything but happiness could ever claim us. Entertainment, a dramatic spectacle. Like 19th century British aristocrats who paid 1 shilling on Sunday afternoons to watch lunatics at the Bethlehem Asylum, or the villagers of the Middle Ages who sent their own ships of fools to travel up and down the canals and rivers of Europe, bringing merriment and diversion at every port, I too have used insanity to entertain. I've held my palms out at parties and invited people gathered around to look at the lines and cross-hatchings of a madwoman. Intersecting my hand at the base of my fingers, the heart line veers disastrously towards a chained headline, the worst possible sign of a nervous system lost to static. I used to embellish an impressive picture of the woman whose palms I mysteriously possess, describing her right down to her mismatched shoes, her gait stiff and shuffling from nights spent sleeping under the bridge near the off-ramp, her hair a tangled nest of leaves and dead grass. Then I would gleefully explain that she in turn has my hands, and the next time a homeless woman thrusts her hand in the car window for spare change, they should check for my life, imprinted there. 1 strong marriage, 2 healthy children, thousands of books read, all the potential a new century has given women of my inclination, and be a little more generous on my account. Paranoid mania. She sees what they're up to, humbugging one another in the garden. Baggage, bobtails, blowings, bog trotters, whores, 2 snakes swallowing each other against the garden wall. She'll keep her bone box shut tight tonight, won't darken the daylights, won't shut her eyes, a string tied from the doorknob to her thumb. She won't be ground sweat tomorrow. No, she won't be dead. In the morning she'll yell in the corridors that they came into her room and poured poison down her throat, put maggots in her bed. Weigh me, she'll demand. How much did they get into me? She swears her eyes were open all night. Once they frog-marched her up and down the hallway and no one came. She was tired, so tired. She follows them, watching through leaves as they pass secrets from mouth to mouth. Dastardly plans, never to be spoken out loud. Bug hunters, a dead lurk. They'll get claws for breakfast when they're lagged. The slaughterhouse, that's the place for them, with their maggots and schemes and poisons. Dresses come off in the cold, centipedes squirming in their cast-off bonnets, lolly priggers, so mean they rob children of their clothes, lolly snow priggers. Mummer her mill clapper shut, sniffing out their mog. Pot scum, that's what they are. If she can trick them, they'll stop putting maggots in her bed. They'll have to be resurrection men then, stealing dead bodies from the churchyard. They tip velvet when they talk to the doctor. They wheedle while she's under the screw. Their poison weakens her. They go on the shallow, half naked to excite passion. Fakers, flam artists, the flying stationers shouted out on street corners for shillings. They have to keep moving to sell this story, or they'd be hunted down and murdered in their beds. Street peddlers know, she knows, even if the doctor is too stupid to see. Epileptic, ecstatic mania. Her delicate fingers are clenched, but how could it be prayer to a God so cruel? Her right knee braces against the next onslaught, for there will always be another, and another after that. You could snap her bones like kindling. She's been broken over and over by the God fire that consumes her during the fits. The dogs know, the wily dogs that roam the narrow alleyways of Lambeth Marsh as she wanders home at sundown from the factory where she sorts paper. The dogs sense her disorientation as the orange swirls in the sky behind the railway bridge that arcs over the sulphurous, crooked streets. Sundowning, that term still to be invented, a time of day infamous for agitation in mental hospitals in the next century. Dogs only know the language of scent, the odd smoldering film on her skin, eerie ringing that kindles a firestorm only they can hear. She draws down her lower lip as though snarling at the enemy. Almost upon her. They snarl back and cower, fur standing up along their thin spines, and then she falls. Time and earth are destroyed and created again, mud thrown on her face from God's violent fusion. Mud she will not rise from one day. Dust to dust, happily she would be dust, not dirt, to those who step over her in the alleyway or squeeze by close to the brick wall, not glancing down, hurrying away. She prays fire will never find her at the factory, but how could it not? Stacks of blank paper of every texture, waiting for some cataclysm to make it real. She feels heat when she sorts and folds. Fire licks at the ends of her fingers. She is paltry fuel, twisted and stubborn, unlike the leaping incandescence, gone in a flash, all gone finally, her independence, her livelihood. She's safer here, where she's held close during the fits, where she is given the gift of dreamless sleep. So she's startled by the burning line of powder that lights up the doctor's studio when the shutter opens, the familiar smell of scorched rubber, and burned onto the glass negative for all time is that split-second recognition usually denied to mortals, not of fire, but of the blackness beyond fire, metal shutter opening and drawing her in for all time.